Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I'm finally going to get round to the Shakespeare Journey tag. I was tagged by Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading, one of the hosts of Shaketember. Um, I've waited till now because one, my memory's terrible, and I think every time I read a new Shakespeare play, it becomes one of my favourites. So I thought I'd wait until I've read the three plays this year and then see if they affect my answers to this tag, um, which I don't think they have really, but uh, it was fun anyway. Um, yeah, so I'll do the prompts. One, what was your first experience reading Shakespeare and what was it like? Um, like many people, especially in the UK, um, I did it at secondary school. So, although my secondary school was awful and like the worst one in Essex, so and therefore one of the worst in the country, so we didn't do a lot of Shakespeare. We did Macbeth, and I remember doing Macbeth in quite in depth, and I remember enjoying it. Like I remember a lot of people hating it, but I quite liked it. Um, and then I remember we also did Romeo and Juliet, but I don't remember reading any of it. Maybe a few passages. And then we just watched the two films and compared to the two films. But that was literally all the Shakespeare I did in sort of formal education. Um, the first time I read Shakespeare outside of that was must I can't remember if it was before I started watching BookTube or after, but it was Richard II, and I remember I bought Hamlet years and years ago, and I tried to get into Hamlet a few times and just never got past the first few pages. And then for some reason, I read Richard II, and that clicked with me, and I really loved it. And then I've read lots since then. Has the reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears? What scene was it, and where were you when it happened? Um, no, no. I do get a bit teary sometimes with books, but not with Shakespeare. I think I'm probably concentrating too hard with Shakespeare to for it to bring me to tears, and I often read a scene and then go and read like the spark notes or something for the scene, um, just to make sure I've understood it properly. So that doesn't really keep you in the moment enough that it would upset me enough to bring tears, I don't think. Are there any people that have played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? Um, Kelly and Jason and all the hosts of Shaketember and ShakeTube previous ones. So I've been following the event for, although I've only had a channel for a few months, I've followed the event for years. Um, and that really has influenced what I've read. Um, Also, I remember a friend of mine was doing Othello um, for college, and I read it as well, just so I could talk to them about it. That's about it. Yeah, just booktube really. All the booktubers, everyone who's made videos on Shakespeare in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. They're the ones that have influenced me really. Um, do you have a favourite book or film about Shakespeare? I want to talk about TV show, but book wise, um, I've read this, which was really interesting. Bill Bryson's book on Shakespeare, and what I remember from this is how little we actually know about him. I think his will, where he leaves his bed to his wife and things like that, are one of the very few things we actually have on paper about him. But it's only a little thing, but it's an interesting look at the kind of life people in this era in the theatre had. So this was really interesting. I really like that, and I've watched some films about Shakespeare, Shakespeare in Love, stuff like that, and enjoyed them. Um, But I really love a TV show, a Canadian TV show called Slings and Arrows, which is three. It's got three series, and they're all on YouTube if you want to watch them. It's really good, um, and that is about a Shakespearean theatre in Canada that's always sort of on the ropes, and their theatre director dies, and they bring back an old Hamlet who had a great Hamlet actor that they had who had a mental breakdown on stage and jumped into Ophelia's grave, and they bring him back in to run it temporarily, and he thinks the theatre sort of sold out and forgotten its roots, so he tries to sort of bring it back to its sort of original state without having a mental breakdown again. It's really good. Which character in Shakespeare most resemble you, and in what ways? This one's tough. I think everyone struggled with this one a bit, but I'm gonna go with Falstaff because he he likes the pub, and he's a bit of a portly fellow, and I'm often a bit portly, so we'll go with him. He's funny as well, so but a bit tragic. Um, which play would you most like to see performed in the theatre, and why? Um, I'd like to see Macbeth actually. I think it's got a lot of cool fighting in it and a lot of different scenes and the witches and things. So I think just from the scenery and stuff, um, that would be interesting, and that's done really interestingly in that TV program Slings and Arrows. Um, what actor throughout history would you most like to have seen play Hamlet while in his prime? And I'm going to talk about Slings and Arrows again. I'm going to go with Paul Gross, who's the lead actor in Slings and Arrows, who's the legendary Hamlet. Although it's a fictional legendary Hamlet, I think Paul Gross is a really great actor, and it would be really interesting to see him play Hamlet. He may have done, I don't know. Probably at some point. He's also in a show that I loved when I was a kid called Due South, and I'm sure lots of people watch Due South. Um, deliver your favourite speech or soliloquy from a Shakespeare play. I'm going to do that at the end. I'm going to edit something on the end and butcher something for you. Do any of Shakespeare's plays intimidate you? If yes, what play and why? Hamlet does, because I've tried to read it several times and failed, but that was before I got into the swing of Shakespeare. So um, I really want to. I really should read it. I really want to. I might watch the film first. Yeah. Also, King Lear is always one that seems very complex. Whenever I hear people talk about it, they all intimidate me to some extent until you start reading them. What tips would you give to intimidated readers coming to Shakespeare first time? I don't really. This is quite hard because I was intimidated, and then I tried a few times and it didn't work, and then it all of a sudden did. So maybe keep trying and switch plays if it's not working for you. Try one of each different uh, types of play, and like everyone else says, watch it first. Maybe like watch a play and then read it after, um, so you know what's happening. And don't be afraid to to look up the spark notes as you're reading, as I do, um, because you can sit and enjoy the language even if you kind of what what they're talking about is going over your head a little bit. You can still enjoy the language. Like sometimes Shakespeare's making two different puns at the same time, and both of those things we don't have anymore. So you're like, there's no way I could possibly know what this means unless I look it up. So don't feel bad if you don't understand what's happening, because sometimes the things he's referring to literally don't exist anymore. Um, which of your which is your favourite Shakespeare play and why? This would be, I think it was last year we read it for Shaketember. It was before I had a channel. Um, and it's The Tempest. So the Tempest is my favourite that I've read, um, definitely in recent years. I just think it was I love that it has magic, sort of magical elements in it. I also love that it's kind of the end. It's a weird setting, and it's the end of Shakespeare's career, and I love that he sort of there's sort of a message in it. The message behind the play is really good anyway, but there's a sort of a message that um, when he talks about breaking his book and things like that, and you think it's quite interesting that Shakespeare would say, sort of, don't waste your time on the written word and spells and things, and just go and enjoy the world when he's spent his entire career writing plays. I loved it. I've never seen a performance of it as well. I really want to see a performance of that as well. Um, Tag other booktubers. I'm not going to do that because I think I'm the last person on earth to do it. But if you haven't done it, do it. Now I will try and do some sort of reading. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rims at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed I know not how oft. Where be your gibes now, your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar? Not one now to mock your own grinning, quite chapfallen? Now, get you to my lady's chamber, and tell her, let her paint an inch thick, to this stavour she must come. Make her laugh at that.